With a life-changing event like a global pandemic, there's fear, uncertainty, and, let's face it, lack of control, especially when it comes to our emotions. Our next guest is a licensed marriage and family therapist here to break down if some of our pandemic habits, for example, like shopping, are hurting us. So please welcome Kati Morton. Thank you, Kati, for joining us. I think all of us can relate to this. All of us can benefit from your book and your advice. What kind of escape mechanisms have you seen people develop during the pandemic?
Yeah, it's wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me. There's been a ton of them. I think we would all admit that we maybe have been eating more than we maybe used to. Binge eating. Yeah, whether we want to admit it or not. I've also, from my patients, I know that drug and alcohol relapse rates are unfortunately up, depression, anxiety rates. We have to consider the pandemic and even just the state of the world as a trauma. And that puts us into our stress response. And so we're looking for ways to essentially self-soothe. And I know personally and professionally, I've seen a lot of people shopping as a way to calm their system down.
Absolutely. And I want to get to my question quickly because I want you to spend as much time with Tori as you can.
Jeff.
So speaking of impulse shopping, why is it such a popular way to cope?
Well, the thing that we often forget about is the reward center in our brain. It makes us feel good, right? When we hit buy or we get that new item, we get that little spike of either, ooh, I'm going to look so good in this, or I feel so good in this, or people are going to perceive me of one way or another, like I'm super successful or I have all my stuff together. We can assume that having certain things makes us look that way. And I think it's that little peak and that hit of dopamine that keeps us coming back in the same way that we can get it from, having 1 or 4 glasses of wine, or maybe, getting out there and seeing people. We crave that dopamine.
I'm guilty of that on both accounts.
Just as as you're talking, like this is really hitting home for me. Full disclosure, I bought a drone.
Oh my God.
500 years old, I have a drone. So I haven't even put I don't even know how to put the propeller thing on it. It's harder than you thought. I thought somebody would do it for me. So that got me to thinking: is my online shopping normal? And if so, like how do you evaluate if like you're buying too much stuff?
If you get a drone.
Yeah. I know that's definitely not what I thought you were going to say, but it's all fine. We all make those impulse purchases and things that maybe then later we regret. But the way to know if it's a problem is essentially an easy one: your budget. Did buying that drone mean that you couldn't pay your electricity bill or something like that? If it gets in the way of us affording our life, that's when it's a problem. And also, if it gets in the way of us spending time with people, I'll be the first to admit that I faux shop, FAUX, like put things in a cart, X out, and I'll spend hours doing this instead of engaging with my husband or my friends and spending that quality time. So paying attention to that. Also, you can notice if you feel good or bad after doing it. Those are all kind of indicators that it might be a problem.
All right. I was also very close to buying a kettlebell shaped like Thor's hammer.
Oh my gosh. How do we know this is but how do we know this is pandemic and not midlife crisis?
It's also Al. He does weird
stuff. I think there's a number of factors going.
That's weird. Okay, speaking of habits, I spoke about reading Atomic Habits. I'm trying to get out of bad habits. Why and how are our emotions tied to those bad habits?
Yeah, I love that you're doing that, by the way, because it is small things that we do that actually lead to bigger changes. But our emotions, essentially, if they go unchecked or unnoticed, run our life, right? If I'm agitated, I can lash out to a stranger that maybe just didn't open the door for me, or like, we can honk at people in traffic. We can be so agitated when it really has nothing to do with that person. And so if we're feeling stressed out, I think all of us would admit it's been pretty stressful couple of years, and it feels like there's no end in sight, right? We're looking for ways to soothe our system. And so if we're feeling really agitated, we're going to make decisions that maybe aren't our best. I always think if we aren't taking care of our basic needs, we're more vulnerable to those impulsive decisions. If I always use the acronym HALT: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. If those things aren't it's like we have to check in with that, because if those things are off kilter, then I'm more apt to buy that thing that I probably don't need, spend that money on maybe that drone that I don't have propellers that I can put on. There's things that we can do that maybe aren't the best for us.
That's so
No
true.
judgment.
No judgment.
judgments.
No judgment. All right, now it's very easy when you're in an impulse to feel out of control. That's what it essentially means. So I'm in the middle of an impulse. What can I do? What do I do to stop it?
Ooh, good question.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. First, just noticing, even if you've done the thing already, that's helpful information. Just start paying attention to what you're feeling that's causing you to do this. Because the sooner we can track it back, like for me, I start to feel really stressed and I find my neck is tighter and I'm breathing into my shoulders. That's an indicator that I'm a little overwhelmed. Maybe I should go for a walk or do something. But also just noticing if I'm feeling worse as the day goes on, checking in on maybe if I've eaten. There are some things that you can just kind of look for to be, I guess, just more aware, noticing what we're doing. And if last month, let's say you were a little tight on money, where did that money go? I know that it's hard to move forward with positive change, but sometimes it's easier to look back, and we can learn from those mistakes. Tomorrow, better. And I think one of the things I want people to get out of the habit of is judging yourself quickly and thinking, oh, I just messed up, I can't go back, and like ruminating on that.
Self-compassion.
Instead, let's think, what did I learn? Yeah, what did I learn? And how can I make a better change tomorrow? So just paying attention to some of those cues so you can do a little better next
I
time.
learned
Brilliant
that drones
advice.
do not come pre-assembled.
Okay, brilliant advice. Thanks so much, Katie. DBL Nation, you can follow Katie on YouTube and pick up a copy of her book, Traumatized, wherever books are sold. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Katie.
We'll be giving that copy to Tori.
Okay. Thank you, Katie. I'll call you.